I have confidence. Rubbish. Am I not lying? Oh, dashboard. Sure. No, don't like it. Where's your mind? Concentration. Shit. Darn it. I need it there. These are right. 19. 6. Well, actually, I'm going to move him. See which one. Okay. So much. Right. Where is he? Oh yes. Nice one. Okay. Good job. Um, so, okay. Um, search. Um, I'm done. Sweet. Actually, that would have been right. Where's the air? There it is.
Sucks. By the way, Zonk, if you don't get a deal, you're leaving with the Zonk name. Not leaving with your name, but thank you. Look, Kevin, the only thing that's missing from your entire presentation is you come out, we all laugh at you, and then you say, but I have $500,000 in sales. And we all go, wow! And then you get a deal. I just started. For some reason, it's not flying off the shelf. I'm out. Okay, Zonk, there's only 2 sharks left. Lori, you gonna save them?
I don't know how to judge how many people want a floating
Zonkatron.
A Zonkatron. I don't know.
This is a bad boy, and I'm telling you, with your capabilities, Lori, if you put this on QVC and people actually see it, people will love it. Lori,
I don't know. I don't think that this is a QVC. When I look at this, I'm thinking Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm thinking Target, Walmart, those kind of places.
QVC.
Damon, you think that this could work for promotions?
I'm killing it with the 180 cup. So when you take the shot out of the bottom, the red cup, it's in Party City. It matches what I'm already doing, and I have a promotional company.
I'll make you an offer.
Whoa.
So, you don't have any sales, basically. Very little sales. I will offer you the $50,000, 40%. Because I feel like I'm going to have to drive this whole thing.
Zonk, you gotta take the deal. Thank you for your offer. Damon, are you interested in talking?
Zonk is on a mission.
Zonk, you're gonna leave with that name. I love both of these guys.
I'll go 50,000 for 40% just to stick it to Lori. I gotta get to work on this, but I have the matching product, and I'm already selling it.
You have me, I'll peddle it. The interest is there. Do something, man. I'm willing to go to 30 if one of you guys can meet me at 30%. One of you put Zonk out of his pain. There are so many people, when they see this product, they go nuts. It's funny. It's not poo-poo. It's poo-poo on a stick.
I don't think it's poo-poo on a stick. I'm not listening to Kevin. I'm not calling you Zonk. I'll give you the 50,000, 30% contingent on that I get either Bed Bath & Beyond or Walmart or Target, one of those to give me a purchase order.
Kevin, I'll give you a million two order from Walmart.
Kevin, I'm not giving you contingency, right? I have a licensing firm. I have to pay people that will not be your problem, right? And then when we have to go and get licenses, a lot of my percentage gets chewed down. So I have to stay at that.
Can you meet me at 35? I'll do this right now.
Done.
All right, Kevin, welcome back.
I like Zonk better.
I do like Zonk better, though.
Congrats, Damon.
Call to Zonkatron. I'll charge you a royalty. Love the bad boy. Thank you very much for the time.
All right.
It's been fun.
Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
Take the chia guy with you.
He's for you.
Everybody close your eyes.
Nasty. Thank you, guys.
Congrats.
Wow. Damn it.
I just wanted to stick it to you,
Well,
but I do like it.
I started this company 4 years ago. Just a Christmas party. I decided to hook some stuff in my beard after probably a couple drinks. Everyone loved it and thought it was funny. So that next year, we just started to sell it. I actually spent $1,500 of my own money. Ordered some from China. I got 1,000 packs. Listed them on Etsy and eBay, a couple places online, and I sold out of those 1,000 packs within a couple weeks. So our first year, we did $80,000 in sales.
What? Oh, you're kidding.
In about 2 months.
Wow. What you did the second year?
Second year was 155,000 in sales.
What? Wow.
gotta be kidding.
What did you do last year?
$462,000.
What?
Yep.
Year-to-date is incredible.
So we're projecting to do about 600 to 700,000 in
And it's
sales
all
this year.
direct to customer?
Yes.
This is a UFB. Unfrickin' believable.
Yeah, I mean, it blows me away. So the regular beard ornaments sell for $9.99. I get them made for $1.66 per pack. And then the light-up ornaments, this will be our second year doing the
How do
light-up.
you
Charge
find
and they cost me $4.66.
Wait,
$4.26.
for how many?
10 regular ornaments, 6 lights.
How long does it last?
About 2 days of continuous usage.
So
But you can turn them on and turn
and
them
you
off.
want them to burn out so they buy again.
Where's your
And
on-off
how many
button?
people really say a $10 item?
Acquiring that customer, it's a subset of the male population.
Correct.
So how are you getting to them?
So they say 55% of men have some sort of facial hair. But where we've been really lucky is we've had a couple of videos go viral. So 130 million views
Wow.
in 2017. Cost me zero marketing. And so that was a huge influx. That's why we had to go.
You get that every year.
No, but my goal last year was to maintain the sales, and I did. We do a ton of just email blasts out to existing customers. So
What is your
increased
background,
sales.
though?
I'm a director of sales for a telecom distributor. I'm not an e-commerce guy. I'm not a website SEO guy. I mean, a lot of this is just me bootstrapping, shipping from my basement.
Well, you're killing.
The war in Ukraine has not been confined to land, sea, and air. There's also a secretive and important war effort in space. Intel gathered from satellites has been an important part of how Ukraine has been able to fight back against Russian invaders.
Space has always been militarized. The dynamic that's shifting is the weaponization of space.
As our political and military leadership are telling us, it is a war-fighting domain.
Private companies have released imagery from their satellites which have shown Russian operations and even likely war crimes, all seen from space. And at the forefront of all of this is the U.S. Space Force.
We've been collaborating with private industry, 4 years now, and certainly we increase that activity as the presence of commercial industry increases in space.
Keep in mind, that's what really provides us for having the edge over any other country in the world. We really have a great partnership between our Department of Defense and those companies who make their own personal investments.
Private companies like Maxar Technologies, which takes images from orbit, and SpaceX, which has provided its Starlink space-based broadband system. The future of warfare is in space, and the Space Force is going to play a big role in how it unfolds. The importance of space-based assets to Ukraine's preparedness may have helped tip the balance in favor of Kiev in the early days of the war.
The United States government continues to be a really critical customer for the space industry, specifically for different national security services. Beyond providing rocket launches for government customers, whether they're classified or not.
Any conflict involves space. We use space for satellite communications and for precision navigation and timing. Certainly, in a conflict that the United States was involved in, we would be critical to the joint force operations.
We now have the ability to, with our satellites and our space capabilities, to identify all the activities that are going on the ground.
The space industry also has been increasingly providing other services, such as satellite imagery. A good recent example is the conflict in Ukraine and a lot of the imagery that we're seeing out of what's happening on the ground in Ukraine, whether that's Russian troop movement or that's Ukrainian military advances.
For example, also, Russia has said that they have not been committing war crimes, but yet our satellites were able to pick up all the carnage and the actual bodies strewn on the side of the street that they claimed they had no part of, but yet we now are able to see it.
Different U.S. companies have been providing imagery, sometimes on an hour-by-hour basis, of situations of interest in Ukraine.
For decades, there's been a steady drumbeat calling for a specific U.S. military branch dedicated to space. Until recently, it was a job for the Air Force.
The creation of the Space Force was not without controversy, as the United States Air Force already had the U.S. Space Command underneath it.
The Space Force has around 16,000 personnel assigned and a budget of $24.5 billion. Compare this to the Air Force, which has over 300,000 airmen on active duty and a budget of $194 billion.
We want to maintain that advantage, maintain that free use of space for U.S. companies to go and operate in the domain safely.
The Space Force's main mission is to organize, train, and equip our military forces to be able to deal with our national security assets in space. So this means both acquiring satellites, contracting for them to be designed, built, and launched into space, then operating those satellites, receiving that data, and processing it.
It's the ground infrastructure that matters a lot right now. People might be disappointed that there's not going to be, at least in the moment, a bunch of armed astronauts and weaponized spacecraft running around hunting enemies like they might be in Star Wars or something. But it's really important that we have the right, sensing capabilities, communication capabilities, anything that goes up and down from the Earth.
As the Space Force mission expands, there have been calls for a Space National Guard as well.
I think really making sure that we have a separate standalone National Guard Space Force section really allows us to make sure we deal with the intersection between our domestic trained National Guard and the support that they provide for the warfighters.
The explosion in
Whatever you're building, build better credit with an AquaCard. Get help from AquaCoach, our free in
private space access has been rapid.
One of the primary ways that companies across the space ecosystem interact with the U.S. Space Force is through different types of services. One of the most well-known ones and high profile is that of launch services through a variety of different programs, typically launching different types of government satellites of all shapes and sizes, whether they're small satellites that are riding along with rockets such as Virgin Orbit or Astra, or they're much larger satellites on very expensive missions for United Launch Alliance, which is a joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin, or with SpaceX, which are the two main large, heavy rocket builders here in the United States.
Space Systems Command out in Los Angeles as part of the Space Force really is the pro-runner in this. So there is a opportunity for new starts in small business, mentoring to happen.
For example, in my region, commercial space is scheduled to grow dramatically over the next decade. And so, again, it's not only good for the economy and providing jobs, but it's good all the way around for our national defense as well.
Besides the big household names, other companies like Maxar and Hawkeye 360, among others, are providing important services to the U.S. government.
These companies continue to both develop their products as well as demonstrate to the United States government how they can provide different services that the government would like to purchase.
Much like how the Navy keeps ocean trade lanes open, the Space Force will help commercial operations dodge space junk, keep track of potential space pitfalls, and provide information as the use of space becomes even bigger.
The United States government continues to be a really critical customer for the space industry, specifically for different national security services, beyond providing rocket launches for government customers, whether they're classified or not.
We need to establish international norms where we get as many countries as possible to sign up to adhere to those standards and norms, like we did with the Geneva Convention for conflicts. We need to do that for space because there's real implications for the debris, the proliferation of debris in space.
Russia and China remain a key concern as competitors in the field of space-based militarization.
China probably has more sophisticated counter-space weaponry, and they also have more sophisticated space assets. Generally, they have a lot more at stake in space. They're investing a lot, but we cannot ignore Russia, obviously. I mean, they've demonstrated that they are willing to use some counter-space weapons in conflict in Ukraine. These are weapons that we've tracked for years. We knew they had, and so you can't fully ignore Russia in favor of China. You kind of have to be able to deter both.
The U.S. Space Force is also involved in looking at newer technologies and how they could fit into the future of the U.S.'s national security apparatus in space.
U.S. Space Force continues to look at different ways it can seed the industry's development, either through different contracts to small rocket launch companies that are really starting to come into the fore in terms of providing services to deliver payloads to orbit, or through experimental kind of next-generation programs. One such example would be the rocket cargo program. That's an idea of using rockets to deliver payloads and other services from one point on the Earth to another point on the Earth and back. Those different types of systems offer a capability in which something that would maybe traditionally fly via a very large cargo aircraft over several hours or days could be delivered within an hour from one point in the United States to anywhere in the world.
Although new, the Space Force is dedicated to producing its own culture that furthers war-fighting capability in space.
As we separate and we become, not fair-minded airmen like we were in the Air Force, but really thinking about space power, thinking about the space domain and how to operate, that's absolutely the culture that we're building right now.
Oh no! They're getting across! Oh,
yes, they did.
Just one! One will kill you!
Skyrim is a decade old, but there's still stuff people don't realize you can do. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks 10, overlooked mechanics in Skyrim. Starting off at number 10, you can be a hitman for a single mission. It's an interesting thing I never actually knew about. For a mission, one mission, there's an infiltration mechanic. In the main quest called Diplomatic Immunity, you're supposed to infiltrate the embassy of this despotic Thalmor. Normally, you can only get so far as the party. The rest of the embassy is considered off limits, so you have to sneak through them. But if you're clever and sneak in a set of Thalmor robes, you can actually walk around the embassy without drawing any attention, Hitman style. The only problem is if you're not playing as an Altmer, a high elf, then the guards will be suspicious of you and stop you. It is a pretty neat little additional way to get through this mission that a lot of people totally missed out on, because this sort of disguise mechanic isn't really explored anywhere else in the entire game, at least that we're aware of. It's a cool bonus that you can do just for this mission, and hopefully it's a mechanic they will actually expand on in Elder Scrolls 6. Social stealth is always a lot of fun when it pops up in games, and it would be cool to see more of it in this series specifically. And number 9, you can actually drop gear to start fights. It's a pretty funny emergent thing the developers put in the game. Sometimes people will actually fight over loot. This only seems to happen in certain spots. I've seen people report it happening in Markarth, Riften, and in various bandit camps when they're unaware of your presence. If you want to see people get like suicidally greedy, just drop a few random items from your inventory onto the ground. Most people will ignore it. Others will ask you if they can take it or try to give the dropped item back to you.
What kind of filthy barbarian just throws their trash on the ground?
But by far the funniest outcome happens when people start fighting over it. Probably the easiest place to trigger it is in Riften. I made sure that a few specific NPCs were around and I dropped some junk, watched the sparks fly. You can play the game for hundreds of hours and not realize that this was even possible either. And of course it has to be intentional too, so it's just an all-around cool little AI thing that happens occasionally. It gets ridiculous when you're able to get people to fight over any old junk, not even valuable stuff, but it's still cool. At number 8, there are symbols all over Skyrim left by the Thieves Guild. You may have noticed some weird symbols drawn on buildings or structures around Skyrim, but a lot of the time they're not obvious, and they're subtle enough that you can probably play the game for hundreds of hours and not realize they're there, let alone actually mean something. These symbols are actually called shadow marks, and each one has a specific meaning. They've been left around by the Thieves Guild, and they're basically meant to be clues or information to help fellow thieves out. One symbol lets you know there's a cache of supplies hidden nearby, or if a place is considered dangerous or safe. There's actually a lot of these around, and while their meaning doesn't exactly match up to what you'll find in certain places, it's still a really cool detail that you can find that is also pretty easy to miss. The only way you can even learn what all these symbols are is if got the Shadow Marks book, which can be found in a few places. The book illustrates what each symbol